we're gonna write some tests. The thing that everyone loves doing is writing tests. Um, I promise you, it's actually really cool and easy with Express, especially with the tools now. So some of the tools that we're gonna be using to write some tests include Jest. If you've never heard of Jest, it's basically a ripoff of Mocha and Jasmine, but does a really good job, honestly. And Supertest, we'll be using that too. And we'll talk about those two different things and why we're gonna use them. In the meantime, let's install some things. Let's grab this and install them. And I'll talk about what these things are. So Supertests is a tool that's going to allow us to do what's called integration testing. And I'll talk about what that is. And then we just download the TypeScript types for it. Jest is a testing framework, just like Express is a server framework, just like React is a client framework. It's going to allow us to write some tests and the types for that. And then TS Jest just allows us to write our Jest in TypeScript. Okay, so we got all those things. The next thing we want to do is we want to run npx tsjust config init. What this is going to do is create a configuration file on our project for Jest. Don't even have to touch it. We just need it there. You can leave it alone. Okay, so different types of tests. We have a unit test. Anybody here want to describe unit tests? I'm looking at my stuff. Just talk about it. Don't look at my definition. I know people here have written a unit test. I know you've written a unit test. I know you've written a unit test. What's a unit test?
I mean, in the unit test, we are just testing the unit of code, whatever you're writing. Suppose if you are contacting to the database, you are not testing the code which getting the data from database. You're testing the code only what you are doing after getting the record from database, and then you're running some logic. So writing test for your unit of code.
Yeah, well said. I don't think I could have said it better myself. Pretty much exactly what you said. It's just testing the individual logic bits isolated from everything else, not in like conjunction and how they all work together, but like, how does this one function work? Let me test that. You know, like, and nothing else. And even then, within that function, it's like, well, I just want to test that one branch within that function, or I want to test what happens if I do just this one argument. Like, it's just testing individual things in isolation versus testing systems and abstractions. Because then you started getting into integration testing, end-to-end testing, all different types of testing. So that's what unit test is. So let's look at an example of what, in order to write unit tests, you need to have testable code. So when you're writing your code, you have to be thinking about like, can I even test this? Is this testable? And that's something that you should always be asking yourself. One of the things I look at a lot when I'm like reviewing people's code is like, how are you gonna test this? Like, this is brilliant. Like, I don't know how you did this, but this is amazing, but how are you gonna test this? How do we keep it brilliant? How do we keep it amazing? Because it is actually untestable because you put the whole app in one function. So it's like, I don't know what we're supposed to do here. Okay, so let's look at an example of not testable code. So we want to write a test for this action function. We can, but even with only 3 or 4 lines of code, this is actually really hard to test. I'll tell you why. One, it's not exported, so we can't, I don't know how we'll even like get a reference to it somehow. 2, it's literally creating a closure with this variable outside of here. So we're not actually exporting this function, so we can't really test it. The second thing is it's creating a closure by reaching out and grabbing this variable in another scope. So if we wanted to export this function into another file, well, it has this extra dependency that we have no access to. That's a closure over here. Good luck mocking that out. Good luck changing that. It's just you're just making it really hard. So that's not really testable. But it looks so innocent. It looks like, what do you mean? I just wrote a quick little function. Why is this not testable? Well, the testable version will look something like this. It's exported, so we can import it by itself. And instead of reaching out and grabbing something and creating a closure, it declares it as an argument and it can be passed in. This is great because in our test, we can pass in different values here to see what the result would be, which is amazing. That way we can test the behavior. We can try to break the function. We can see what happens under different conditions. We can never do that here. How would you change the value of value inside your test? I don't know how. I don't know how you would do it. It's actually impossible without some type of hack. So you would have to write the test in the same file as this function, I would imagine. It'd be really weird. I don't know how you would do it. But here it's not a problem. Okay, this function is not bound to the file that it's in, whereas this function is pretty much bound to this file. It cannot move without functioning differently.